Hey, it's Beata
and Sarah
from BA English Coaching, and welcome to our next lesson.
Remembrance Day.
Remembrance Day. What is it actually, Sarah? What happens on this day, and why is it so sentimental or sad or emotional?
Very emotional, yeah. It's the day once a year when we remember all the servicemen and the civilians who fought and died in the First and Second World Wars. But it was started after the First World War in 1921.
If we are correct, then we are celebrating the 100 years since the tradition started. And I think it was
George V
that he started the traditions, and then it has continued until today.
Yeah, for 100 years, every year.
When do we celebrate it?
We celebrate it on November the 11th because the Armistice Day, which finished the First World War, the moment was the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month. And so November the 11th is our Remembrance Day. Yeah.
So the 11th?
Not the year.
The day, the 11th of November
at
month. 11.
Yeah.
So there are 3 11ths.
Yes.
So it's a very easy date to remember.
Yeah.
There is something else we should have mentioned. The quote. You know we love quotes, and I have found this one that's absolutely beautiful.
When you go home, tell them of us and say, for there tomorrow we gave our today.
It's so emotional, so powerful. It makes you think about all these soldiers, what they had to do so we can have the lives we've got today. I don't think we can ever imagine the horror they had to go through. I think it's
unthinkable.
Yes, I think that's the right word. And we are so blessed and happy and
grateful
that we don't have to go through the horrors.
Yeah.
Some of us, because there are still countries that are fighting and the war is still not over. And the quote, what happened to his son?
Oh, Kipling, Rudyard Kipling, who was a novelist and a poet, had one very precious son.
One and only?
Yeah, one and only son. One and only precious son. And he rather encouraged his son, who was very young, to join up and go and fight in the war, because he thought, this is what you do. And
this is the right thing to do.
Yeah, and very sadly his son was killed, and Kipling spent the rest of his life with the guilt that he had so encouraged his son to go, and of course from terrible, terrible sorrow. He was really traumatized by the whole thing. A lot of people were.
And then he came out with this beautiful quote. One of the things that happens every year on the 11th of November at 11 a.m., the time stops for 2 minutes.
Yes. 2 minutes silence.
2 minutes silence. So people observe 2 minute silence. Wherever you are, you should just stop.
Yes. And give thanks for their lives and your life now.
These days, maybe people are not so much disciplined, and you know, if you are working or if you are shopping or if you are driving, then you probably wouldn't stop.
Yeah.
But Sarah said that...
I remember living in London, as I did some time ago, London just went silent. Everything stopped. Taxis, buses, everything. Everybody stopped. Nowadays, life goes on pretty much the same, which is a bit sad, but there you go. I think the BBC is off for 2 minutes.
Yes, the radio.
The radio has silence for 2 minutes, and probably the television.
Yeah, so maybe you don't do it physically.
Yeah.
But,
yeah,
you know, internally.
There's a moment.
Yes, exactly. You just find the time to stop and think and give thanks and be grateful. So that's one thing we do.
Yeah.
Another thing that happens in London and all around England, in villages and towns, the war memorial ceremonies.
On Remembrance Sunday, which is the nearest to the 11th.
Oh yes, we haven't discussed this. So the Remembrance Sunday takes place on a Sunday nearest to
the 11th.
Yes.
Whatever day of the week the 11th falls on. So the nearest Sunday is Remembrance Sunday. And a service and a huge parade takes place at 11 a.m. at the Cenotaph, which is a large tomb.
War memorial. In London.
In London, in Whitehall. Attended by the Queen, her family, politicians, and military representatives, which include veterans of both World Wars, though obviously they are getting fewer. On that day, all around the country, in villages and towns, similar ceremonies and parades take place at war memorials, and these provide the nation with a physical reminder of all those that have served and sacrificed their lives. Every year, the Royal British Legion hosts the annual Festival of Remembrance at the Royal Albert Hall, a commemorative event dedicated to all those that have served and sacrificed from Britain and the Commonwealth, at the end of which there is a silence and thousands and
I
thousands.
was going to say this. So,
Edit this, for God's sake.
if you go to London,
Yes.
or if you go anywhere around the 11th of November,
Yeah.
you will see that the country is more red. It's
Okay.
covered with poppies, and we will talk about poppies.
Okay.
You will see these kind of beautiful, I mean, there are roses, and then there are poppies. You will see lots of these kind of red flowers spotted all over the trees and these war memorials, and it's just beautiful. So what Sarah just said, the Royal Albert Hall.
Well, it's the Albert Hall, which is huge, is filled with servicemen, women, their wives, their families, and so on. And at the end, there's a silence, and thousands of poppies fall out of the ceiling all over the
Audience, the
you.
spectators.
Spectators
Yes.
who stand with their heads bowed as these poppies fall on them. It's very, very moving and very tear-inducing.
We just discussed with Sarah, we can't watch this,
Oh.
the services and stuff, because we just get very emotional and
I make an idiot of myself.
and we need lots of tissues.
Yes, indeed.
So this is something not very practical for us. And there is another emotional, beautiful
Yes.
thing that the British do during the Remembrance Sunday, and it is something to do with the unknown soldier.
In London, every year, on the 11th of November, there is a service attended by the Queen, her family, politicians and servicemen and women, when a wreath of poppies is laid on the tomb of the unknown soldier. After the First World War, an unknown warrior was carried from a French battlefield 100 years ago to England, to be laid to rest among kings and statesmen in Westminster Abbey. The body represented all those who would never have a proper burial, nor a grave for their loved ones to visit. It is genuinely not known who the soldier was, so the bereaved families can hope it was their husband, their brother, or their father.
How beautiful is this?
Yeah, it's a lovely idea.
It's such a beautiful idea. Yes, it is the unknown soldier, and the families that have lost someone, at least they can hope. Nobody gives you more than the one that gives you hope. And I think this is the hope for them, that they can hope maybe that is the person they lost, and
it is genuinely an anonymous body.
You told me the story before that what did they do?
Well, some soldiers were told to go to the battlefield and find a body that had absolutely no identification on him. So they didn't know who he was. The people who transported the body didn't know who it was, and the people who buried him did not know, and we still do not and never will know who he actually is, because that's not important.
And now we can talk about these beautiful flowers that are all around us, on us.
On us, yeah.
Yes, this time of year. Why do we wear poppies? And that's another beautiful story behind this.
The poppy is the flower that, despite years of fighting and destruction of the countryside in Western Europe during World War I, poppies miraculously appeared amongst the devastation. The awful trenches were just covered in poppies. And since then, this flower has become a symbol of remembering everyone who gave their lives to wars, but also to those who have died on behalf of their country.
How amazing, how beautiful the story is, that you think, okay, on the battlefields, this kind of flower, which is so simple, yet there is something
and so blood red.
So the color, the simplicity of it, and these flowers just appeared on the battlefields. Yeah, sometimes it just makes you wonder that things happen
It was a symbol of hope.
We do wear poppies, and there are different colours of poppies that people can wear. How many different coloured poppies are there, and what do they all mean? We have talked about the red poppy. When do we start wearing?
Apparently, generally from the 31st of October after Halloween through to the 11th of November as a mark of respect.
There are 3 more colours.
Yeah.
Purple poppy, Sarah, is all about
The animals.
the animals killed during the wars. So it's horses.
Thousands of horses in the First World War. Dogs are still used by the army.
Pigeons.
And pigeons before the days of the internet.
Sarah said there are many horses that were killed and or injured during these horrific wars. And there is one particular book we would like to recommend to you, and it is a war horse.
It's called War Horse by Michael Morpurgo and was put on the stage with amazing puppets, if you can call them that, of these horses and the young men fighting. And I came out in shreds.
Yes, so did I.
I could hardly leave the theatre.
It's a beautiful, beautiful story.
Yes.
And if you see it on stage, you just need
A box of tissues.
A box of tissues, maybe 2 boxes.
Basically, the horse was taken from this young boy who lived on a farm with his pet pony horse and taken out to the fields of Flanders to fight. And most of the story is about this young boy trying to find his horse.
No, I think we are not going to spoil it.
Sorry. But it makes
read
it
the
very
book.
clear how awful the life was for the horses and how many were killed.
Yes, if you read one book, read this one. Now, black poppy.
Apparently.
What does this symbolize?
Well, it's to commemorate those who served from the African, Black, Pacific Islands and Caribbean communities.
And then we've got the white poppy.
Which is a sign of peace.
Yeah.
It was adopted in 1934 by the Peace Pledge. Like the red poppy, it is worn to commemorate those who suffered, but focuses more on achieving peace and challenging the way we look at war.
So now you know that you can buy a red, purple, black or white poppy, or if you see them, you will know
What they mean.
Yeah. There is another thing, like which side should you wear them? And
Yes.
it is a matter of a personal choice.
Yes.
Some people prefer the left side, closer to your heart.
Put my poppy on my right because I'm right-handed and it's easier to fiddle with it with your right hand.
It doesn't matter which side you wear it on.
No.
I think the main thing is that you do buy one and you wear one.
And the money that you pay to get your poppy goes to the British Legion.
Yes.
The British Legion, who support the families and servicemen if they're injured or widowed.
Yeah, we've just said that for some people it is still a sad reality and they may have lost someone recently. And Sarah would like to share a story.
Yeah.
She's happy to share a story from her own life about her father.
Right. My father fought in the Second World War in the Royal Navy on a battleship called HMS Dragon and travelled most of the way around the world. And at one point he was in Durban in South Africa and the boat needed overhauling or repairing and they were given 2 weeks off. And local families would invite the officers in that fortnight to come round and be entertained and whatever. And he met my mother. And in that fortnight, in 1942 or thereabouts, they got engaged.
Oh, so quickly.
Yeah.
Oh.
I know, maybe it's because it was wartime. I don't know. But he then had to go back to sea and fight the war and all the rest of it. But she was determined to get to the UK, to get to England, which is not easy in the middle of a war. The first ship that left that she couldn't get on, but her wedding cake was on it. And funnily enough, my uncle was sunk. The cake went down.
What?
Yeah, I know. My uncle did survive, though he always told the story of how he was eaten by sharks. But anyway, then she did get a ship and she arrived in England and they got married and was happily married until she died in 1970. And my father's stories of the war were only about the good things. And for him, that he found his wife and brought her back to this country and had a family, I think for him the war personally wasn't an awful thing.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
So they got engaged after 2 weeks.
I know, I know.
My goodness.
I know, her mother was not happy.
Well, I can imagine.
Yeah, they would never have met if it hadn't been for the
Yes.
war.
So there is a silver lining to everything,
Yeah.
isn't there?
Yeah.
That's just beautiful, Sarah. Thank you for sharing your story with us. And so we hope you have enjoyed this. You have learned something new. You will now wear a poppy and you will know what it symbolizes.
Yeah.
Hopefully you will also watch a war horse or you will read the book. If you have enjoyed it, please like it, share or subscribe to our channel. There is one quote I really like, and it says, "War is what happens when language fails." And I think it's when we stop communicating.
Which is what all these classes are about.
Always communicate, and then we don't have to fight if we
Stand one another.
So thank you for watching. Don't be the same, stay awesome as always. We always say this at the end, but maybe now we can also say, be a peacemaker.
Yeah.
Be a peacemaker. Bye.
Bye-bye.